So as you can see, Cheryl got shut down now. There's plenty for me to say, but I'm not going to say anything because I'm really absolutely delighted to be able to welcome Cheryl to UK Column News today to give us an exclusive. Cheryl, how are you? How was the experience? And how do you feel your answer? Did you feel your answer was satisfactory?
My answer wasn't satisfactory. You can tell by my face I wasn't very happy. My brain was trying to work out what question I could ask if I was given an opportunity after they'd finished, or Alison Cave had finished. I decided to just talk about their yellow card data, and the data I had was that this one serious adverse event in every 426 doses, which has got to be a very worrying statistic that they're not actually investigating. In terms of what she said, the first word she seemed to use was robust, which she's obviously got off June Rain, because June Rain's been using that word for so many comments about the analysis of data before the rollout, etc. They think they've done a robust analysis of everything. They then go on, or Alison goes on, to talk about extensive engagement with academia. Well, they seem to be sponsored by pharma, and they go on about the international regulatory network that they tended to use as an additional source of information, and they all seem to be operating in the same way. So I wasn't satisfied with that. The thing that they're not engaging with are the victims and the families of the people who have registered with the yellow card system. The target active monitoring that I asked them to comment about was a bit like the V-Safe in America, whereby they have people before vaccination sign up, and then they follow those people to see what sort of reaction they have, which is good because you've got a denominator. Then you know how many people out of so many people are actually getting a particular reaction. That seemed to be set up by the middle of 21, according to Nick Denham, it actually finished about 15 months ago. So it hasn't continued. The VSafe information has shown a lot of very useful statistics that was managed to be got hold of via ICANN doing freedom of information requests, and they showed that 7 to 8% of 10 million people who registered for the app on VSafe actually end up in accident and emergency. She goes on, does Alison, to say, she talks about the very stable safety profile of the vaccines, which made me start thinking all sorts of things. If that's what she believes, then she's obviously not looked at her data. She goes on about the robust monitoring and surveillance of any COVID-19 vaccine will continue, even though we're not getting to see that information. And in terms of the freedom of information, they basically always come up with the same sort of response to say that there's no causal link. They haven't done any investigation as to whether there is a causal link. Other people have. They've used the Bradfield-Hill criteria to prove that there is. And then she goes on about the freedom of information, which we haven't been able to see listed, is going to, funnily enough, resume this week. And the reason that they haven't been able to do the listing is because of resource requirement. So they seem, again, not to have enough staff. They don't seem to, and Debbie knows this from the past board meetings, they don't seem to have enough staff in the past in any department, even though they were expecting a lot of side effects from this set of vaccinations. And how on earth, in 3 months, they actually assessed the Pfizer and the AstraZeneca, and then they had a little bit more time to do the Moderna investigation as to whether they should license those products. But for example, the Pfizer documentation, we know it's 451,000 pages, and they didn't have enough staff, apparently, at that time. So, yes, I was told off because I was going into specifics and they didn't like that. But the thing that she finished with, Alison finished by saying that the benefit risk of those vaccines remains positive. And I'd challenge her on that.
Yeah. And so would I. And thank you, Cheryl, for that, because honestly, I mean, we've got a lot more to discuss, and Cheryl's going to very kindly stay with us on Extra to really extrapolate some more details of what was said there. So thanks so much to Cheryl. Does anybody want to make a comment, or shall I push on with the next exclusive?
David, go ahead.
Cheryl, I thought you handled that extremely well. What you were facing was, goodness, gaslighting. But when you came back, they came back to you, and you raised the 1 in 426 doses giving a serious adverse reaction. That they didn't react to. No one said, "Oh, that figure's not right," because if that figure's right, they have to pull the vaccine immediately. They've pulled other medicines, as they themselves reported, for a 1 in 10,000 risk. So this is simply an untenable position. And what was the reaction? It was, we've got a narrative report that says everything's okay. We've looked in detail at every single report. They're not saying we've looked at the figures in aggregate. They're not saying that the figure you quoted is wrong. They're not saying they've looked at the stats. And in terms of risk-benefit analysis, we've been asking for this for years now, and we're not getting them. Where are these risk-benefit analysis? Where are they that actually demonstrates the position that they're holding, that the benefits outweigh the risks? We can't get the stats. They don't seem to exist.
And David, if I may, I'll just add to that how did the chairman, the MHRA chairman, shut things down there when obviously the pressure was coming on? One of the expressions he said is, anybody that's interested, as if this is so casual that actually, well, some people might be interested that people are being seriously injured by vaccines or dying, but this is not really important. And his second statement was, we don't want to talk. He actually said, we don't want to talk about these sorts of events. The implication, I think, is here in the meeting. But he was closing down the moment the reality of vaccine damage was coming in front of the meeting. He was closing it down. So I'm also going to say, Cheryl, really well done for doing that. I know it takes a lot of courage to stand up in front of people and question them.
All right, Debbie.
Yeah, it does. And like I say, we are going to be joined by Cheryl in Extras, and there's much more to say about this. So please stay tuned to anybody that's coming in to watch